gatherings, and we started, this is week number 4. But this is, if you didn't come before, you are not, you're fine. You're going to catch up very quickly. But we started the week talking about self-care. Who was doing self-care? Only Rob. No one is raising the hand because they know they shouldn't. Because we discovered that self-care is not really Christian. Self-love is very Christian. Week 2, we talked about influence, and we talked about what does it really mean to follow Jesus. Why do we call this series Jesus for a Post-Christian Christian? Because especially in the West, we really think we are so cool, and we are really following Christ. We are following more of the Christ of our culture, and of our likings, and of our successes, and of our imagination than the real Christ. And of course, something called enculturation has to happen sooner or later. Nevertheless, we are not really following Christ. If we would really study how his disciples really lived with him, we would be really surprised. So that's what we talked about, how different it is from then and now. And we told everybody to sell everything and give all the money to us. No one did. That's why it doesn't work. We have to continue in the series. Week 3, it's not even funny. Yet. Week 3 was about belonging, and we talked about different kinds of belonging. It was really very feely, touchy on the beginning, but then we came to the core and we said that you can be ignored, which is like we're not known and not loved. Everyone say, whoa. Whoa. And then we said that you can, most people in the West try to fit in, so when you fit in, you are not known, but you are liked. That's why everyone is doing the fashion and whatever things that we want to fit. And then you can be rejected when someone knows you, but then they reject you. And then the last part was when you are accepted, when you are known and loved. And we prayed for people, and 3 demons came out. And then 5 Holy Spirits came in. So that's in short, how it all went in the first 2 weeks. So today we're talking about success. And we are doing all these series based on the book of Mark, which we are reading. We started in August, and all of our Stone to Flesh people, missionaries, which we have 25 of them, they are reading daily, right? Yes. And you are doing activity daily, right? Yes. You're going to say yes. So let's look at it as we pray for the scriptures. We are not just learning about whatever, thinking and meditating. We are really praying deeply that God is going to enable us to come to a different, deeper level of knowing him, who he really is. And the Gospel of Mark was written for people like us, because it was written by a guy who did not even know Jesus. He knew Peter in Rome, and he wrote the Gospel. He was a little young disciple, looking like Aldo, did not know anything, came to Stone Flesh, listened for 2 years, and then wrote a book. And that's what we are reading right now. Okay, let's go to the scripture. We have a malfunctioning situation, or maybe not. Let me see. Oh wow, my thing works now. That's the Holy Spirit. Alright, so this is the scripture. If you have a Bible, or if you want to follow that, that's great. Catholics don't bring Bibles, they don't follow. Hopefully this is going to change soon. We are in Mark chapter 8, verse 27, and we're going to read through 10 verses today. Hopefully you're not going to get bored. If you're going to fall asleep, do it quietly at least. Don't fall from your chairs. Alright, are we ready? Jesus went on with his disciples to the villages of, how do you say that? Caesarea Philippi, right? You pronounce these things so strangely. And on the way he asked his disciples, who do people say that I am? And they answered him, John the Baptist, and others Elijah, and still others one of the prophets. And he asked them, but who do you say that I am? Peter answered him, you are the Messiah. And he sternly ordered them not to tell anyone about him. Do During week 2, we talked a little bit in week 3, how the disciples really feel being with Jesus. You have to understand they were not filled with the Spirit. They were just commoners who were called by Him, abruptly left everything, literally everything, and started following Him. So how do they really feel when after 2.5 years they are coming close to Jerusalem, when they're going to have a big feast? This is what they really think. They think, man, this is the best thing that could ever happen to me. Because, I couldn't go to Harvard. Now I have a guy. When we get a big conference, man, like 5,000 people show up. We're like doing bread from whatever. We have 2 bread, 2 fish, 5 bread. We're just doing this stuff, man. It's like we are in a good company. How did this happen? I have no idea. But I'm in, and I am really going to make something of myself being here. And you can tell by reading in between the lines or a little every now and then what they would say and how they would comment certain things. They were dimwits and they were following God, basically. So that's why you all are called, because no one is discredited. You don't need to be prepared and ready for anything. You have to have only open heart, which is great, but open heart is very hard to do, right? Okay, so let's not be opportunistic, but they were. They were thinking, I'm going to really make the best version of myself here. We're going to go and we're going to arrive at some point. What's going to happen, really? We don't know. But they were very ambitious, some of them at least, and some of them really had no idea what was happening. After some time, they started kind of grumble, and they would say, look, man, I left everything, like my boat, like my dad hired another guy already. Now they got already another boat. What am I doing here? Like going from village to village, arranging donkeys and pita bread for dinner, and dried fish. And I am in charge of kids, because when all the people come, women want to hear stuff too. So this is my life now, and I hate it. There is no strategy, there is no vision, there is no mission. Well, Jesus has we have no idea where it's going, but guess what? I think we're going to go do something, because after some time we'll get some traction. So we are going back to Jerusalem. Something must happen. Something is going to happen. Then they say, well, I come from Riverside, so for me, this is like the best thing that is ever going to be. Hollywood people are kind of like a little discontent. They we thought it's going to be better than that. Santa Ana, no one knows what's happening there. What good can come from Santa Ana? We don't know. It's like some people with some kids. There's no organization whatsoever. No one knows what is happening ever. Everyone is like a leader. Whoever shows up just does stuff. This is how it feels. So me being kind of here, like, I don't know, maybe this is better. Maybe something is gonna, some says, I've heard we are really going like downtown LA, or like even maybe a little farther, like whatever you think is the best part of LA. What is the best part? Beverly Hills. Beverly Hills, okay. Going to Beverly Hills. So we're going to start a hub there, so we have to get really influential people, have something viral happening, some YouTube clip, something, some social media thing, presence, whatever. And we have nothing. The only thing I know, I have to arrange another Airbnb in Jerusalem or Beverly Hills. I was told there's going to be a red carpet and I have to bring a donkey. That's all I know. And we're going to have dinner. And this is what it is after 2.5 years. And out of this stuff, there's nothing written. Jesus didn't even write anything. They're just following him in the dark. And they think something must happen eventually. But it's not happening yet. So the build-up is there, and the frustration is coming to the point that, it's take it or break it, like here or there. The sad part of it is that, if they're gonna go back to whatever they were doing, which they actually did, after Jesus resurrected, Peter went back and started doing fishing. But they have nothing much to look for. So when Peter says, "You are the Christ," this is something completely different. In Hebrew or Aramaic, the word would be Messiah, Moshiach. That's how we pronounce it. So Messiah and Christ are the same word. I have it somewhere. Mashiach. It is the same word and it means, who knows what it means? Michael, don't say nothing. Who knows what Christ means or Messiah? Anointed one. Who was anointed in the Old Testament? Prophets, kings, who else? And priests. Great. So here we have someone that Peter is very abrupt and he has no clue about anything, probably most of everybody, but sometimes he's so eager that when he speaks before he thinks, sometimes it works, like 10% of the time, 90% of the time doesn't. Nevertheless, he does stuff and then he figures out, I'm going to figure it out. It's like all evangelists. So when people were expecting Messiah, they were expecting some guy that is going to come and deliver them from the oppression. Have you ever lived in a country that was under other power, controlled by some other country or nation? No. Okay, I grew up in a communist country and then we lived in Muslim countries. So if you go there, you would die after 2 days because no one cares about your individuality, no one cares what you want, no one cares what you think. Everything is whatever the government tells you. But it's not communism at all if you go to, for example, Middle East. People want freedom for different reasons, but they think that when they're going to gain political freedom, they will be really free. And they are not. Because for some reason, when you are persecuted, we produce more saints and more people who are really committed to Christ, and then we have everything available. If you would compare the statistics of how many saints come from which times, it is very precise. You will see this. So, Messiah is someone who's going to deliver us politically. Messiah is someone who's going to come and deliver us religiously, sort of, that we can really worship publicly in total freedom. Which they were not really suppressed. They still could practice the offerings. They had Sadducees, Pharisees, scribes. Everybody was there. So it wasn't like they were totally oppressed. Romans were smart. They would never take your religion away because then you would have only rebellion. So they would give you a little freedom of that, but they would control the religious leaders. That's how the whole system operated, right? But the Messiah is the one that is going to lead us, and he's going to bring us freedom. When you would read the first 8 chapters until this moment, if you would live in the first century, if you would read this story, you would understand that someone super greatly powerful has showed up. And that's Jesus. Why? Because the first 8 chapters you hear a lot and you read mostly about healings, deliverance, miracles, powerful deeds. This is what everyone expected. This is what everybody wanted. The Messiah was going to really be the strong leader that we need. Like Brian. Right? Everybody wants the strong leader, like guy who has it together, you know, like someone who we can follow. And later on in Mark 14, when Jesus stays, he's accused already, and the high priest asks him, "Are you the Christ, the Son of the Blessed?" And he says, "I am." He confirms this. But after this moment in Mark, if you will still be reading the Gospel of Mark, you will suddenly see the huge change. There is a huge shift, and this shift is what we're going to talk about today. So this was just a mini introduction, and it took 15 minutes. How is that happening? Okay, so when we think about Messiah, we think about someone who is going to bring us better life, success. American dream, anybody? Who came here for American dream? Everybody was born here and wants American dream? Someone? Okay, so we want to be successful, right? How we define success is pretty tricky, and it depends somehow from which culture we come and upbringing and so on and so on. But if you think, what is our greatest success? So for example, today, this is a photo of the first spacewalk done by 2 women simultaneously. They were outside of the International Space Station. They are 2 American women, I'm sorry, I don't remember their names. But they repaired the space station for 5 hours. And it was so significant that our president even called them and talked to them for 3 minutes. And the delay was, like only a few seconds. It was incredible to watch. I didn't even know that this is happening. I just clicked on the news and I said, what's happening today? Like, who can we say that is super successful? And this is happening. I'm like, yeah, women. Okay. So then, what is a success? Another next story, if you would Google success, this is what came up. Another story was, why is, what is the title of the Joker? Why, if Joker is so popular and successful, what does it say about our souls? That was the title of the article. I didn't read it because I didn't watch the movie. Or maybe you might think something that is very, closer to home. If you think that 350,000 babies were born today, maybe that is considered a success in today's world, right? It depends what you think. Probably all women are like, yeah. What is considered a success? In America, if you would look at certain markers and measures, they measure that. What do you consider that you're going to be successful in the United States of America? Okay, so now I have to do this because I didn't do this. So let's read this stuff. You're going to tell me if it's accurate or not. All right, money. Can you see? Money. The average income is 57,000, and people say, I will make it, which means I'm going to be successful when I'm going to have 3 times that much. One in 4 people are kind of happy already with the income they have, which is pretty interesting, right? Okay, next. What they measured is, what is the epitome of making it financially? So people say, never worry about medical bills, able to loan money to family and friends, able to donate significant money to charity. Can donate to MajorChange. 77% of respondents would not want more than 1 million in annual income, even if it was offered. That is a very interesting find. Yeah, this is actually not bad, I think. Property. The average home value is now 250,000, and if you have it almost double that, you'll consider that you made it, which these people don't live in California, so they don't know what they're talking about. Average car, you want to have a car that's 3 times, basically almost 3 times bigger, better, newer than you have. On average, I'm saying. 70% of people said owning a car under 50K qualifies as making it. And 70% of people said owning a home under $500,000 qualifies as making it. What else do we have? Average hours worked per week. 35 hours? I thought everybody works like me, 70. Like, what's wrong with you people? So they want only 3 hours less. 36% of people are happy with vacation because they never traveled to Europe and never lived there. If they would go, they would know that we have 1 month of vacation, not 3 days. 44% of people think that they are great as far as working hours. 31% work from home. That's huge. That's a huge jump from even 10 or 15 years ago. Time off 2.8 weeks you have. I have never met here anyone who would have 3-week vacation, but whatever. These are probably people from the East. Commute, 17 minutes. And everybody wants to drive only 10 minutes one way. Education. It's interesting that half people think that they are okay with the education they have, but only 15% have advanced degrees and 50% want more. Well, you know how much it costs, right? 46%, half people are married, more than half people are single, but half of those singles want to be married. So who is single here and wants to be married? We can do the Holy Spirit match. handsome, young. So 4 out of 5 say part of making it means having kids, which this is good because everyone tells us no one wants to have kids. Actually, a lot of people want kids. BFFs. If you have 70% of people think that they have enough friends, close friends, right? Not Facebook friends, but close friends. 30% would like to have more best friends. Who wants to have more best friends? Carlos. Keith, you want to have? Oh. 3% would like fewer best friends. Who is there? Hey, 3 of us. 61% people are happy regarding their relationship status. So average number of best friends, people have 3 and everyone wants 4. It's a magic number, I guess. Who thinks, considering, different countries, how does it look like? So most mentioned that, I'm happy living in this environment, in this country, and I made it. Italy, France, England, Spain, and Canada. So no Australia, no Poland, no Mexico. The states that people are thinking that they made it is New York, Florida, Colorado, Texas, California. It's not because of you, it's because of millionaires who live here. Travel. People want to travel just a little bit more. They are fine with planes. If you would make it and be successful, how would you spend your time? So 30% would just to go and have dinners with friends and family, 23% would like to explore, and 20% would be working. Because they probably love the job that they are doing, right? When I looked at it, I'm like, I'm in the 20%. I love what I do. Why do I want to change it? I come here, I look at all of you, I talk. It's nice. How are you? 17% of people want to relax, and only 11 want to help people in need as their main priority. Women more likely to say helping people in need, and men want to relax. Now, how do we know that? I'm not going to comment because then I'm going to get, Michael is going to send me something, you shouldn't say that. Northeast, most likely, so what would people be when they say that we are successful, what are they doing? In Northeast, they say they would work, so they are workaholics. Mountain people, most likely to say exploring. And people from Southeast, they want to help people in need. So they are Christians over there, Southeast. Everybody else has a problem. And then status. Pacific Coast would like to choose wealth. They want to be all rich, that's why we moved here, right? And Southeast wants less responsibility, and they don't even care about being respected. That's only Christian. And Northeast want to be famous. So that's how it goes. Women more likely to choose wealth, and more would choose freedom, like they are not free or something. Which of the following do you actively pursue? So this is your goals in becoming successful. Freedom. This is very interesting if people are putting in a free country, if they are putting freedom. Wealth, yeah, respect, less responsibility. I choose this. I want to have less responsibility. I'm tired of responsibility. And 8% want to have fame. Join Keith in that club. If you haven't made it, what's missing? What is missing? Income. Women say income is missing, and men want their dream job. Is that true? Is that true? Millennials least likely to say income is missing, most likely to say dream job. Northeast wants to have dream job. Pacific Coast wants to have more respect. You go to the hood. Southwest most likely to say income. So these are the findings. We don't need this. We talked about this. Jesus. How do we start this journey with Jesus, who is the Messiah, and he says we're going to be successful? So, if you remember from chapter 1 and 2, there is something very peculiar that happens. Because we in the West think that we have to work, and we have to earn God's acceptance and love, which you probably heard it 1,000 times. And yes, we've heard it, but we don't live it. We think that we should earn his love on a continually daily basis, and we think we're going to be rewarded with more love, more of whatever we think that God is going to do with us, for us, and around us. This is sometimes very subconscious, nevertheless it exists. When Jesus comes and is baptized, a voice from heaven says what? You are my beloved son, exactly. Like that. Okay, I want you to talk for 1 minute in your group. What did you consider being successful 10 years ago? Or like, the younger people, 5 years. And what do you consider being successful now? And you have literally 1 minute. 30 seconds. And some of them feel that they're unattainable. Mozart played very well piano and violin, Vince, when he was 5. What's wrong with you? Started composing, like he really started composing long pieces. This is not like, A, B, C, D. We're talking like star, note all over black. 19-year-old Elvis Presley. He was very known and super successful as for his time. What else do we have here? Isaac Newton, when he was 24, he wrote Philosophia Naturalis Principia Mathematica. You of course read that all, right? So this is one of the main mathematical treatises. So he's looking 24. This is the fashion we aim for next time, please. Einstein was 26 when he wrote really his theory of relativity. This was like, he didn't develop the whole concept, but that's how he understood how we understood it. Now you have Michelangelo, which there is no young self-portrait of him. There is only one when he was old. Created the two of the greatest sculptors, David and Pieta, at age 28. So this is, for those times, this is very early. Then you have Alexander the Great. When he was 29, he had the biggest empire in the world has ever known before, and probably hard to say if after, but Oprah was 32 when she started her talk show, which has become the highest rated program of its kind. So she started pretty late. Actually, I'm trying to encourage you, Oh, you can see this. This is Edmund Hillary was 33 when he reached Mount Everest peak. So he was the first man, he's in blue. He was the first man to climb Mount Everest. He was, 33. Martin Luther King was 34 when he wrote I Have a Dream. Everybody thinks that he was older, but he was not. He was very young. I mean, young, relatively young. Neil Armstrong was 38 when he was walking on the moon. Abraham Lincoln was 52 when he became president, and he failed before he failed a number of times. If you want to be really encouraged, if you fail all the time, read his biography, it's interesting. Tolkien was 62 when the Lord of the Rings books came out. For some reason people think that he was younger, so we kind of miscalculate. But yes, it took some maturity to develop writing. If you would go on TED Talk and you would listen to this guy who is called Richard St. John, which is a very intriguing name by itself, you would hear that he researched, and he said in the West, especially in America, when people want to be successful, this is what they think about and talk about, and this is how their life basically goes. You have to have passion for something, do it from your heart, not for money. You have to work hard, but have fun, do not become a workaholic. If you want to become good in something, there is no magic in it. You just have to practice, and do it more of it. You have to focus and do only one thing at a time. You have to push through your shyness and self-doubt. You have to serve others with something of value that you possess or are. You have to develop different ideas after listening, observing, questioning, problem solving, and connecting. And you need to persist through the failure, criticism, rejection, and pressure. So, well, I can't say the words. So, do you think that this is accurate? Sounds accurate? Okay. So this is, of course, this is not bad, but this is not how Jesus interrupts everything in Mark chapter 8. Because from them expecting that he is the guy who is going to bring us to Beverly Hills and change everything, suddenly he says, and he began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected by the elders and the chief priests and the scribes and be killed, and after 3 days rise again. So first Peter acknowledges, you are the guy we were waiting for, and he says yes, and this is how it's going to be. They are so disappointed, but then they think, hey, maybe it's a parable, maybe it's a metaphor, maybe it's a story, maybe it's just something that we need to kind of dig deeper, like we're going to pretend we don't know what's happening. Jesus continues, and he said this plainly. And Peter took him and began to rebuke him. Peter rebuked God, basically. But if you really think about it,
I believe you can say that.
but turning and seeing his disciples, he rebuked Peter and said, "Get behind me, Satan, for you are not on the side of God, but of men." I was trying to find an art about this, and there's no art. This is the best art I got. So there you go. There's one, but it looks like this. Jesus is like, and Peter's like, So this is the rebuke. and that is going to happen. And what we have? Pretzels. Right? Jesus promises this. Jesus says that religious establishment is going to come against me. And they will kill me, but I will rise again. So don't worry. They don't want to, I don't think anybody comprehended anything. And that's why Peter, who just takes everything literally, he takes Jesus on his side and says, come on. PR. Very bad talk. I'm very disappointed. The morale is going really low. How are we going to, come up from this? Like, how are we going to do, like, what are you thinking? Like, we are continually thinking it's going to get a little up there, and you're saying that something terrible is going to happen to you. What about us? Like, my feelings are hurt. You should laugh now. It's very my feelings are hurt. Like, I am offended. What? Like, I give you 2.5 years. I want to be director of Stone to Flesh, Beverly Hills, said Rob the other week. Right? I want to be like, the main whatever people think. So Jesus says, looks at him and rebukes him and says, get behind me, Satan. Do you think that Peter turned into Satan? No. Do you think that Peter became possessed by Satan at this moment? Who thinks that he was? Raise your hand, be brave. Who thinks that he was just stupid? There is something to it. And when Jesus tells him in another gospel, which is in Matthew, this is not in Mark, Jesus says, blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven, after he acknowledged that Jesus is Messiah. So he says, revelation came and was dropped into your spirit, which is the middle part, how you are made. But because you are so carnal, you interpret it in all wrong ways. So your discernment is screwed up. God is coming and telling you stuff and you don't even know what is happening, dude. So when he tells this to Peter, he's talking to his carnal way, which are not holy. That's why he's saying this with, whatever he's saying. Our soulish understanding, when we operate only from the soul, we're going to do a lot of stupid stuff. Peter did not understand that the reality is shifting right now and he has to start really connecting with his heart and kind of meditate and contemplate a little bit more before he says something, because every tenth time only what he said was really good. The other stuff was not that great. Okay, what happens next? We're going to the core. We're almost there. Verse 34. And he calls to him, this is Jesus, the multitude with his disciples. So he's now not talking only to his little 12, but everybody who is there. If any man would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever would save his life will lose it. And whoever loses his life for my sake and the gospel's will save it. For what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and forfeit his life? For what can a man give in return his life? So suddenly he tells them, hey guys, you want to be successful? This is what we're going to do. This is what you have to do. Number one thing is what? Deny yourself. Number two is what? Road to success. Pick up your cross. And number three? So he called them on the very beginning, did not tell them this because they would be like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to fail. I want to succeed. By the way, America is super concentrated on winning. And even in church culture you have this, man, we got killed it, we crushed it. It is all over. This language is super violent, and it's not suffering servant-like language. You were born into competition because of the pioneering spirit, but the bad parts of it kind of stick to some people, and you cannot shake that off. It is just here. I mean, you can, but like us, we can't. It is very, very hard. We continually think that succeeding means winning, or be better, be number one, or compose stuff when we are 5 years old. That's why we have helicopter parents and all the other stuff, which I'm not going to talk about right now. Maybe in a homeschooling group. So, what is it first? Deny yourself. The second, pick up your cross. And the third. So in the beginning he tells them, follow me, because if he would tell them everything, they wouldn't go. So they go for 2 years, they see all the smokes and healings and the great stuff. And then after a while, he says, okay, they are almost ready. Like, not really, but maybe a little bit. I'm going to tell them what it really is. And he delivers the message. Actually, that's how discipleship is. You have to follow someone and want to become like this person. It's imitation. There's no originality in it, no much creativity, It's just doing the same as your master is telling you or showing you to do. So that in our concept, in our Western freedom-obsessed, individualistic, society, this concept is actually not going to fly. And then he delivers to them this message. You will suffer. You have to die. I will leave you. And it's going to be great. Again, there is no vision. Strategy is really bad. Like, all this investment is coming up with nothing. There is nothing afterwards. This is the roadmap that we talked about. So first one, we talked that you are loved. This is what Jesus heard, and that's why he picked them when they were not deserving anything. He picked them up in the beginning, chapter 2, I think. From wherever they were. You don't have to deserve nothing. If you just respond, you can follow, and you are really loved as you are. Right? Deny yourself. How do we deny ourselves? The Greek word means strongly reject, disown, refuse to recognize. So when Jesus says deny yourself, he says that your old self, carnal man, has to die. Because you cannot connect with God who is spirit when your spirit is dead, and when you really rely only on your soulish and carnal, intuition. This is going to go only as far as it can get. And after that, you're just not going to make it. You might be very successful in the world, in the eyes of the world, but you are not going to be successful in the kingdom. Because the kingdom starts with denying yourself and suffering. Rob is very happy. How do you deny yourself? So Christians talk about some word that is called asceticism. Have you heard of this? Started very early, actually in the Bible. What is asceticism? You think about something probably very negative and terrible, and you don't want to do it. Because you want your crackers and your ice cream and your whatever. What is asceticism? Denial of pleasure, that sounds really bad. We want pleasure,
Training.
Yes, it is preparation and training. So I prepare myself, I train myself. So do not think that this is only, he wants to take everything away from me, and I'm just going to suffer here, having this bread and, without butter. That's no butter.
What? It's the opposite.
Asceticism is this. I discover that my spirit has to fight my soul. And it's not that my soul and body are bad, they are great, they are just a little distorted. And they have to come in alignment under the Holy Spirit's power. So I'm going to do everything, and it's not only by my will, it is not only self-discipline, January 1st type stuff. It is that God's grace is really operating in me, and it's going to help me. Right? So I want to live according to some kind of rule of life. And by rule, I don't mean rules and regulations, but principles that are going to help me to enter into this reality where God is really real and not just a story, a picture, someone else's witness or whatever. I want to experience this. I train my body. How do we train our body in asceticism? Fasting is great. What else? Jogging is awesome. What else?
Cold shower.
Huh?
Cold shower.
Cold shower. What else? I remember one saint said that if you wake up in the morning, do not lay in bed, just get up immediately.
Yeah.
This is like the step number 1 to holiness. Just do that. Mercy works, charity to others, right? Like I share whatever I have, I share with others, not from only what is for me, $100 or 20. I share something that is going to hurt me. Maybe not hurt me, that's a bad word. It's going to cost me something. So I give myself. How do you train your soul? Your soul is your intellect. Your soul is your feelings and emotions and your will. How do you train your soul?
Prayer.
Prayer, what else?
Read scripture.
Read scripture, what else? Great, what else? Yes, take every thought captive, what else?
Fasting harder. Contemplation.
You read all the books that are assigned in school to stone to flesh. You do all your spiritual reading. You have to think, it's intellect. So, because some people want to be really so spiritual, and after 5 years, you're going to miss on everything that God wants to give you intellectually, and you have no background and no fundaments, and you're just going to do the same deliverance of the same three demons for 20 years. And it's boring. It's boring. So, reading, spiritual reading, this is what Saint Teresa of Lisieux said. Her conversion came after reading one book. This is the same what Teresa of Avila did. Edith Stein. She read autobiography of Teresa of Avila, and she was atheist Jewish, very intelligent student. She read this book over one night, which is like 500 pages, and she closed it and she said, this is truth, and she was Christian in that moment. She believed in God. Do not despise readings in school of the heart. They're going to bring you life and freedom.
Hey, look at it.
This is the best ads I ever did. So, intellectual development that is spiritually beneficial, not only for our head, that we're going to go and, make YouTube clips, how greatly we can comprehend stuff. Prayer for inner healing of memories, this is important. You have to take care of whatever happened in past. If you're going to walk like zombie and just want to be victimized all your life, and I don't want to shame anybody, but some people really like that because it's harder to get rid of your little stuff and start living fully. It is harder. You're not going to have that much attention, not that much time from others. People are going to be like, not walking on eggshells around you and so on. Community, you cannot do it on your own. No one did this on their own, as far as we know in the history of the church. How do you train your spirit? Practice love. Prayer, generally prayer. And Desert Fathers would say vigils. So like 24-hour or 12-hour, We lived at International House of Prayer for 6 years. People pray 24/7 for how many years now? 20-something. And there are many orders, Catholic orders, that, they have 24/7 perpetual adoration, right? Prayer. And what else? You Catholics should know. Yes, great! Here is the guy that is making masters in theology. This is the right answer. You win a car! Sacraments.
They won't fit in the car.
You don't feel the grace that is given to you. It's not about only feelings. Feelings are great if they are correctly guided by your spirit and by the Holy Spirit. Okay? Fruit of the Spirit. This is how you're going to train your spirit. You're going to see the fruit of your spirit. Okay. Next one. Pick up your cross. So, How many of you are aware that you have a cross? Okay. When it says in the scriptures, this pick up means lift up, take up, elevate, or bear. And the cross is used just the one beam of the cross. That, in some newer movies about Jesus, he's carrying just this one beam before he's crucified. So this is exactly that word that is used. So basically what he's telling them in our ears, it would be, you have to be executed by guillotine or electric chair or something of that sort. You know what I'm saying? Because for us it kind of looks like almost sentimental. Oh, Jesus on the cross. Think about it in a realistic way. You're going to be taken to an electric chair and you're going to die. This is what you have to do in life. I'm going to another church. These people are really off theologically, totally. Now, some people think that what they experience is the cross, but it's not. And some people experience something that they think it's not the cross, but it is. It is very common. Not every suffering, not every pain is a cross. But some of it, even if it's not the cross, can become a cross. If you are spiritually mature to take it, pick it up and bear it. So, everything that pertains to, for example, abuse, pain, and things that we have to be healed of, it doesn't mean, because sometimes in charismatic circles they're going to tell you that everything is just going to go away. It's not that at all. It is that Jesus comes and carries this pain with you, and you can be relieved of this only when you come into the cross. No other scripture memorization is going to help you. No other thinking of this, positive thinking, I don't know, whatever. Faith, success, whatever, what is this movement? Faith movement stuff. That's not going to work, okay? But you have to be healed from pain that is unbearable. Also, there's the saying that God cannot give you more than you can handle. That's BS. It's just not true. What did I say here? Not every pain is cross, not every suffering, not every injustice is your cross, not every situation. Some people really crucify themselves with nothing because they don't want to win with resurrected life. And some people are denying their circumstances, or they don't want to enter into picking up their cross because they are afraid, or they just don't want to. It is not true that God cannot give you more than you can bear. The effects of your abuse and pain can be turned into your cross, but only if you stay under the cross of Jesus continually, and you can start bearing things that are impossible for a human person, and feelings and will and so on to bear. Because He is carrying this cross for you, with you. The cross is something that you cannot avoid. So this is the first how you recognize what is the cross. You cannot avoid this, and you have to do something about it. You can leave it, you can run from it, but it's there. Okay? So if you want to be like Jesus, you have to embrace your cross. This is going to lead you to a place of death, but this is not where it ends. The cross is always going to be given you so you can become closer to Christ. You can become more in love with Him. You can become more intimate with Him. You're going to become His, not your own. And some people need bigger crosses, and some people need smaller crosses for a long time. So you cannot compare anybody's cross. Your whole ambition to become successful has to include the cross. There is no other way if you are a Christian. Sorry to give you this great news. Salvation in Greek is soul, which means wholeness. You cannot become integrated self if you're not going to do the cross. And And the cross really, afterwards, you're gonna laugh at it. It looks like cross now. It's like, oh my God! In 3 years, you're gonna be like, this was nothing. Now what I'm doing. Oh my God. Right? Not all things will be resolved. Not all things will be said. Not all things will be known. Not all things will have closure. We are not trying to establish a company under Jesus, our CEO. And the last one is follow Jesus, which we talked about week 2, so you have to go there or ask Keith to host the talk. So you're not going to know how do we follow. We follow, and the Greek word following is to be in the same way, which means literally follow right after. So we should look like Christ. Like if people look at us, this is how we should look. I want to, at the end, well, of course I'm too long with everything, tell you about Maximilian Kolbe. This is a successful Christian, okay? So he was born in 1894. He has a funny name, Raimund Kolbe. He was born into family. Father was German, mother was Polish, but the family was Polish. There was no Poland for 125 years, so he lived under other oppressive jurisdictions of other 3 countries. When he was small, his mother said that she suggested to her sons, she had 3 sons, work, study, and play only if you have time. This is a great, when we're going to have some flesh kids, we're going to say, okay, now we're going to work and study, and when we have time, we're going to play. This is how we're going to raise saints, people. Like, what, Easy is already, how old is Easy now? 8 months, yeah. So we're going to start him too. What's next? This is the place that he lived. When he was 12, he had a vision when Mary comes to him, and she shows him 2 crowns, white and red, and she says, which one do you choose? He says, he was confused, he chose both. Then he told his mother, and suddenly he changed, his whole behavior changed. And she was worrying about him, she was super happy, and she recognized something spiritually really happened to that boy. By the way, they lived in his parents were very religious, so they prayed every day. They woke up at 5, prayed every day, rosary, went to daily mass. The father was evangelizing everybody left and right. And the mom was working 10 to 12 hours, both were, and afterwards she was studying how to become a doula. Is that the word? Right? So the boys had to take care of the whole household, cook meals. They would go, they didn't have a car, they were quite poor. Actually, they had a little business and they bankrupt because they were giving so much money and help to other people that they had to minimize whatever they had. So there was no good strategy there. And the boys would walk the parents every day from the factory and prepare dinner. So when the parents came, they had a full meal ready for them. So this is our ideal brand. You know, tell you guys this story. He had 2 other brothers, and they both decided to join Franciscan friars, and they kind of slipped away, and they kind of ran. They had to cross illegally the border. They went to Lvov, which was then under Russian jurisdiction, or was it Austro-Hungarian? I don't even remember. So they joined the order when Maximilian was 13. 13. This is where majority of kids leave Catholic Church in America. So he joins this order with his brother. After 1 year or 2 years, they decided we'd rather be a military and, join the army and free Poland. At the same day, when they decided to leave, their mother showed up, and she says, me and your dad, because all the kids left, which all of them became seminarians actually. She says, we decided that, I love your father, I love you, but I love God more, and your father decided that he's going to go to Franciscans and I'm going to join another convent. And they we're not going to fight any war, we're staying here. So they stayed. I mean, this is like story after story if you would leave. So So he became a novice at 16. At 19, he received a degree in theology. At 21, receives doctorate in philosophy from the Jesuit Gregorianum in Rome, which is like, high up there. At 24, he becomes a priest. At 25, becomes a professor. When he is in Rome, he sees that something is wrong. Oh, by the way, when he was 21, he invented what we call heterogram, and he got even patent for that. And he also built a radio station. Like, genius guy, And if you go actually to Nipocolano, the city of Immaculata, like he was as tall as me, and he was not really a persuasive personality. He mostly mumbled quietly under his nose. No dynamic speakers. He was called Crazy Mouse because of his inventions. So then while in Rome, he sees that all Masons are trying to take over, and he decides to get some other seminarians and start Militia Immaculata, which is like a little solidarity or like, a little association of few people. In a few years, they have 1,000 people who want to join, and he doesn't know what to do with that. This is no social media, no phones, I'm talking, no TV, no advertisement, nothing. Before he becomes priest, he writes, so he's 21, he writes this long, it's like 2 pages maybe, his, like statements that he wants to follow. For example, this is how it starts, this is his original writing. Follow very faithfully the timetable of each day, and you will be safe. So it's like, that your asana, your toggle, everything ready. This very day begin to serve God. It may be that this is the last day of your life. This is what he writes at 21. Live it as if it were indeed the last day. Tomorrow is uncertain, yesterday is no longer yours, only the present belongs to you. Not being punished is the most terrible chastisement of all. Every action you perform will remain forever. Make up by fervor for the time you have lost. Be a man. Like that. You might die this very day. He was sick with tuberculosis, so they would send him continually to what are those houses called, like retreat houses or something? Sanatoriums. Is that the word in English? Yeah. Okay, so he would be there for months and he would evangelize everybody around. And literally people thought that he's going to die at least 2 or 3 times. After he comes back to Poland, he starts a seminary and a monastery, and this was the biggest monastery in Europe during this time. In 1939, so when the war starts, the city of Immaculata, listen to this, had only 13 priests, 18 seminarians, 527 friars, 82 candidates for friars, and 122 boys. Yearly, about 1,800 boys wanted to join, and Maximilian Kolbe would interview everybody personally and receive only 100. And everybody wanted to come when they were 12 or 13. Like, no social media, no video. He started to publish those little publications, and within a few years, he would publish daily 137,000 of those. And people, mostly people who are poor, couldn't pay, so they would send it to them for free. They would sleep in barracks on hay, eat only, bread and whatever people gave them, or whatever they had little animals around. On Sunday, they would sell 225,000 of those, and missionary bulletin once a month, I think, would reach 500,000 people. We're talking before Second World War. He was very entrepreneur-like. He bought the best printing press that existed in whole Europe, and he said, we can build many churches, but if we will have no media of our own, they will be empty. Like, hello.
Ooh, prophetic, man.
I know. This is how it looked. You would think that, should be a little better. This is his desk. All clerics have that desk. You'll love it. So then the war starts, and they start to receive Jewish refugees in the monastery, which was, of course, forbidden. And I think they had about, a few hundreds, I think even up to 1,000. 2 years later, Germans show up, and they take him to Auschwitz. When they take him to Auschwitz, he is there treated as a normal prisoner, he starts hearing confessions, and people flock to him because he never lost his faith or hope in God. Then it's a story about Franciszek Gajowniczek. So in 1941, every morning at 5 a.m., they have to count all the prisoners. So they count them, and someone has escaped, and they have to pick 10 people, put them to bunkers. This guy is crying because he is picked, and he says, I have a family, please don't kill me. Please, please don't kill me. And at this moment, and this is the place where Kevin stays, this is exactly the place where it took place, he comes out and he says, I would like to go and die for this prisoner. Can this be exchanged? No one has ever heard of nothing like this. And the guy in charge calls another friend because he cannot believe that this is happening. They are laughing, calling him pig, priest, pig, and whatnot. And they say, yeah, okay, go. So 10 of the prisoners are going to a bunker number 18, and they are naked there for as long as they can live, and they were sentenced to death by starvation. So no water, no food. He lived the longest. They had to give him a shot in, I don't remember if it's arm or heart, to kill him. He was singing hymns every day, was hearing confessions, and was basically talking about God to others. German guards tell us these stories, because we don't know from anyone who was in there, right? He was burned like all the millions of other people in Auschwitz. The man who survived, you see him, his name is Franciszek Gajowniczek. When he survived the whole war, when he found his wife, they learned that 2 of their sons died. This is during beatification of Father Kolbe in Rome. It's sometime in the 70s, and then he was also canonized. He died in 1995. He never achieved anything great. He was a simple peasant who lived in his house and traveled all over wanting to tell the story of Father Kolbe. This is success in Christian life. To give a life for someone whom you don't even know. If he is gonna, in worldly manners or matters, achieve anything, become successful. He spared just a man who begged for life because he had a wife and family and kids. Without denial of ourselves, without the cross, we cannot follow him. So what we want to do now in our groups, we want to pray for each other. If you have to go, you have to go. But we want to pray for those four points. Where do you need Jesus today? Do you need to be loved? Do you need a grace to resist? Do you need strength to pick up your cross? Or do you need grace to leave things behind and fall in love with Jesus? So pick one of those, relate to your story briefly, and let's pray for each other. And not everybody has to be prayed for. If you have to go, you have to go. If you want to have conversation, you can go outside and please converse outside there. Jesus, we thank you for your presence, and we thank you that you are drawing us to be successful in you. We thank you that you are giving us grace to see and grace to hear. We thank you that you are giving us holy examples of those who followed you, that they have never become successful in the world's eyes. We ask you, Father, for more grace. We ask you for grace to understand what does it mean to deny ourselves. What does it mean to become successful in your kingdom? What does it mean to give our life for the good of others? We ask that you will take us and show us yourself not only as Jesus who is healing and delivering people, but as a suffering servant who is giving us tools and time and love and care and time, so we can enter into the reality where you are the King. You are victorious. but there is not even a grain of salt of triumphalism in you. You are a triumphant king, but you do not hype anything. You do not lead us into dark and murky places. You are simple. You are loving. You are straightforward. Come and draw us. Let us leave behind what is holding us back. Let us leave our fears behind. Let us burn the bridges. Let us desire your love more than any other love.